you can't have a concrete USP without the niche. Okay. So everyone else is just like, I don't need a niche. I don't need it. It's fine. Well, that's cool if you're happy just like being a mediocre business. If you really want to stand out and you want something that's special for people, I know I'm a bit harsh. If you want something that's special for people, then the niche is integral to that.
Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Coffee Break Podcast, where our mission is to share business ideas, practices, and strategies while we enjoy our cup of coffee. Today's guest is Jen Hall. She's joining us from Wales in the UK. Probably one of the most fun conversations I've had in quite some time. Just lots of energy, lots of fun, and also I learned so many new phrases, so many new words that I didn't even know existed. So we're excited about that. We're going to jump into that conversation in just a few seconds. But before we do, I want to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already. We are, we're pushing out a brand new episode every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. You want to be in the know. You want to get all of the latest information, and it's coming at you really fast. So subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Check out the video version of this as well on YouTube and Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and that way you'll be right there every single week with all of the information. Lots of fun in this conversation today. We're going to be talking about really getting down to the niche of what you offer. I feel like a lot of us, and our business included, oftentimes get spread a little too thin with all of the services that we're offering and all of the different customers that we're serving. And so we're really going to be talking today about how do you break through all of that confusion and really find the true customer base that you're trying to serve and how you can serve them at a next level of detail and focus and attention. That's really going to be the focus of the conversation today. So grab a cup of coffee or gray tea, as the proper posh would like, and we'll get ready for this conversation with Jen Hall.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. Time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
Jen, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. I am very excited about the conversation that we're about to have today, just based off of the few minutes that we've been chatting so far. So thank you for being here.
Oh, honestly, I'm really excited to be here. And ditto, I feel like we have a lot of British versus US style stuff. And I'm assuming US and you're not Canada, because that would be really awkward.
Definitely not Canada. So
okay.
Yes. Now, I do know some folks from Canada, which I will refrain from making comments about at the moment. But fun story. One of our customers here in North Carolina is, and I don't know exactly, I probably should know this, is from the UK. And he has a very strong, what we would refer to as an accent, but obviously a natural tone. And whenever we would ask where he was from, he would always respond with, "I'm from Georgia." Georgia is a state, a southern state in the United States, has a very strong southern drawl accent, and it was hilarious. Anyways, now that we've got that fun conversation out of the way, we'll jump into... We'll jump into rapid fire, 5 randomly selected questions just to get under your skin with unknown point values, and then we'll give you a score at the end. Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm ready to go.
Before we do that, we were talking a bit before we started recording about coffee versus tea, because I'm drinking coffee this morning. We're recording this podcast. So I'm really off this morning. So we're recording this podcast earlier than normal, because you're not in the same time zone as us. So where are you from this morning? Where are you joining us from?
So I'm based in Wales in the UK.
Well, which is the west side that we just learned. The west side.
Yeah. We said it's not the cool west side like you have, but it's definitely the west side of the UK where the sheep are. There's lots of sheep.
Oh, okay. Now, there's a golf tournament happening over there, but that's not anywhere close to you either. That's just over in the broad. That's like saying it's in America, right?
Probably my other half would massively know this because he's well into his golf. I am not, so I'm just going to say could be in my back garden. Wouldn't know, don't care.
It's just the 150th open. It's no big deal. It's really just a small.
Yeah, exactly. I wondered why he was kind of getting so het up about being back at certain times and like being constantly distracted from me. But there we go. That must be what it is, not me.
Just a small a couple of guys playing around the golf. Okay. All right, here we go. Ready? Question number 1. What is one thing that you regret doing in life?
Oh my gosh, that's not quick fire. That's deep. Something I regret doing in life. Treading on a wasp at the wedding I went to on Saturday.
Do what? Treading on a wasp?
I trod on a wasp. It was really quite painful.
You walked on a wasp?
Well, I'd like to say it was his fault because as I was walking, my like sandal and toe separated. He took that opportunity to fly into that separation. And as I trod down, he stung me a lot without swearing, but it was a lot and it really hurt.
And did you make a big scene?
Well, I have known to be quite dramatic, and I was a bit like, "Oh, okay, that really hurts," and then collapsed onto the floor because I was so scared of walking the sting back into my foot. So I was like, "Oh no, like I can't step down." So I kind of like stumbled to the floor in my like wedding attire, and then was like, right, and then I. Not dramatic at all. The sting was so big, half of its bum was with the sting. Like he really stung me that bad that it wasn't fun. But anyway, antihistamines later, and I was drinking copious amounts of vodka, and it was all fine.
There you go. You got it all figured out. Okay.
Yeah.
A little less maybe dramatic. Question number 2. What's the flavor of gum that you wish existed?
Do you know what? This is really cruel, but I don't have gum at all. It's like banned in our house.
Okay.
Because of environmental reasons, without going on a massive tangent about it. Like all of my daughter's friends hate me because they're like, "Oh, we've got bubble gum and stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool. That's not allowed in here." They really hate me for that. But then I let them in our hot tub and then it's all fine again. But
it's a trade-off there.
Exactly.
No bubble gum, but you can get in the hot tub.
So it's a really boring answer.
I would have never guessed that to be an answer. So that was actually an incredible answer. All right. If you just had $1 million for only 1 hour, how would you spend it?
1 million for an hour. Wow. How would I spend it? Gosh, I've never actually even thought about this question. It's going to be a really possibly dorky answer. I'm going to say Facebook ads.
Say what?
Facebook ads. That's how I'd spend it.
I don't know what that means.
Facebook, like as in like advertisement. Facebook ads.
Oh,
it's the accent. It's the accent, quite possibly the accent.
Okay, no, that's great. Facebook ads. That's actually a very smart decision.
Certain amount of money goes in, more money comes out. So it's like,
I like
there
it.
we go.
Okay. What number question are we on? Question number 4. Here we go. What is the weirdest meal that you've ever eaten?
Snake soup.
Snake soup.
Yeah, I was, I think I was about 8. And it was brought back from Malaysia, and it was like, let's see what she'll eat contest. I didn't enjoy it. It was that and garlic snails, and then something else. But yeah, that was pretty ming.
I had shark one time. That was pretty cool. Tasted like just normal fish. My sister one time took a challenge to eat this really spicy pepper, and they told her not to let it touch her lips, to bite it with her teeth. And she didn't do that because, she doesn't listen. Anyways, entire face swelled up. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That happened to my daughter when she was eating a meal. She thought it was like a red pepper.
Yeah.
Went straight in there with the chili, straight in, blistered everything. Ooh. I can't say I was that caring mum who didn't laugh because I wasn't.
All right. Question number 5. Which book has impacted you the most?
Oh, okay. This is my very first like life-changing book I've ever read, because there's many, but would be Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now.
Okay. And how did it impact you the most?
How did it? It really changed my life in a way that it made me far more present than I've ever been in my entire life. It made me view the world from a much more peaceful place, which really took my life in a completely different direction to where it was heading. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I like it. All right. Congratulations. You made it through rapid fire.
Yes.
All right. We're going to give you a score of 697.
Okay, cool. On a scale of what out of what? I'm quite competitive. How did that score against other people in this round?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the conversation. Thank you for joining us today. Now, just by a little bit of introduction, let us understand a little bit about what you do on a daily basis. How you're helping your customers. What is it that you're passionate about?
Well, I'm very much spread across various businesses. So I am a business coach to my wonderful clients, helping them to become the number one in their niche. That is my big passion. So I'm a real specialist in messaging, helping people to create concrete USPs. But a lot of my time is also spent helping customers get to places like Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, things like that for our company Evertrek. So we have a team of around 10 of us based in Wales who do that, and I head up that company with my husband, which is that's a more exciting business. That's normally what people want to hear about. So it all depends on what you guys want to hear about today. But we, as a business coach, obviously helped my husband to kind of get this off the ground as much as possible, and really raise our game. And how old are we now? I think we're 5 years old with Evertrek, and we have dominated our niche as the UK's number one high altitude trekking company, using all of the stuff that I teach my clients, which is pretty cool. It's nice to have that kind of lab rat to prove that it all works and I'm not just talking about it.
So the Evertrek basically does is what?
High altitude trekking.
High altitude trekking. So you basically are teaching or training people how to do that, or
we facilitate it. But it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that we help and train them, because that's also a big part of our ethos, is really not just like sending people to those places, because that's what every other company does. Like sure. There's loads of other trekking companies out there that could send you to these places. But the piece that was missing in our industry was very much that help, like even to people who have like the picture of Everest on their bedroom wall as a kid, who really wants to go, but has 1,000,001 questions around, can I do it? Is this not like for special people? Am I fit enough? What equipment would I need? How expensive is it? All of the things that you're just like, is this even possible for me? That was the part that we recognized was massively missing from our industry. And that's where we really drilled in.
So, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I'm just trying to process this, because I think maybe this is kind of what we're talking about from an overall grand conversation today. So in an aspect, it's kind of like a booking agency or a travel agency, but it's really focused on a specific type of adventure.
Exactly. So you'll book with us to go to which have like a Machu Picchu. It's all based around high altitude on the whole. So high places that you want to go trekking. And you know, these are trips that are widely available on the market from many different people. So you'd book on with us, but then the journey starts immediately as soon as you book. So normally people book between 6 months to 2 years, sometimes 3 years in advance, sometimes longer. So there's a big period of time between going, okay, I'm doing this, to actually taking the trip. And then during that period of time, we are with you the entire way. We indoctrinate you into our cult-like community, which is awesome. We have around 6,000 people in our Facebook group who basically run our group for us. I've never seen anything like it, but they're just a really supportive bunch of people where you're like, okay, what kind of boots are you getting? And then you'll have 1,000,001 people going, okay, this is the ones I'm buying. These ones gave me blisters. So it's an immediate journey with us. It's not like, okay, and now you get to go. We get like, it sounds ridiculous, but we get 5-star reviews of people on Google and they haven't even left for their trip yet. Because it's that kind of thing where it's like, oh wow, okay, you're a part of our company immediately as soon as you book. And to be fair, even before that happens, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so you're effectively guiding them through the entire journey. That's it. Okay, that's incredible. So taking that type of a a model, and kind of what we're going to be discussing today about understanding, like you just said, kind of creating messaging or creating that niche, that what it is that you do, but appealing to a specific type of customer base, instead of trying to be so broad, because that's what a lot of people do, rather than, we do all adventures. Well, no, you focus on high altitude adventures. It's a very specific thing. And because of that, you can cater to a specific client and take them all the way through, and they get the biggest value for that and the most impact. So taking that kind of concept and unpacking it a little bit for a business that would not specialize in high altitude trekking, which actually is very ironic, because we talk about this in our organization quite a bit about hiking, what the definition of a hike is. So I think you're saying a trek is a hike, but do you use the term hiking?
Yeah, it's interchangeable. A hike or a trek. I mean, you could go really deep with the real meanings behind each of them. A hike feels longer than, say, a trek, but actually we call them treks. I just think they're an interchangeable word in our land. Someone used this incredible way of describing what we do as extreme walking, which I love. And I'm like, we need to use that more. It's definitely extreme walking.
So what is in your opinion, and this is maybe a little bit off track, but I've been intrigued, and so you're kind of an expert in this area. How do I know that I'm going on a hike versus just going on a walk?
Oh, okay. This is an interesting one. So I'm going to get into the mind of my husband right now, and I'm going to try and answer it how he would answer. He would say that if you are going on a hike or a trek, there's a pre-planned route. You've probably got a time planned out in terms of how long you're expecting it to take. Mm-hmm. You have perhaps you might want to take a different direction, but on the whole, you'll know exactly where you're going. Whereas a walk, you're kind of just exploring. You're not really committed, and you're just I'm just going to go on a bimble, and I'm going to see where I get to. And when I get bored, I'm just going to turn around and going to come back. That would be our definition, I think, of a walk versus a hike or trek.
Okay, I like it. This is fun. I also don't know what a bimble is now. What in the world?
A gentle stroll walk.
A gentle. This is incredible. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having this conversation with me.
The education on the walks.
I'm just seriously, I've learned 32 things since we started. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm an organization in our world. We offer lock and security services. So how can you, as a business coach, help to create this messaging, as you were talking about, kind of creating a concrete USP? And I'll let you describe that. But how can we kind of start to think down that process? Because obviously we wouldn't solve that in this conversation today. But what is the mindset that I've got to start being in to really understand what it is that is beneficial to serving that customer?
Okay, well, when we first began this conversation, actually off recording, you kind of asked me what am I really passionate about? And so it's a twofold question, because so many people want to hear about the niche stuff. And whilst I'm really passionate about that, a lot of people, I want people to know about the USP stuff. But actually the niching comes hand in hand with that. You can't have a concrete USP without the niche. Okay. So everyone else is just I don't need a niche. I don't need it. It's fine. Well, that's cool if you're happy just being a mediocre business. If you really want to stand out and you want something that's special for people, I know I'm a bit harsh. If you want something that's special for people, then the niche is integral to that. Mm-hmm. So I always say you've got to kind of go 3 layers deep on your niche. So if we look at, for instance, the generality of it, so the wealth, health, and relationships. So if we look at locks and security, let's see where that kind of fits in. Where would you say that was in those massive kind of niches, as it were, in wealth, health, and relationships? Would you say health?
Oh, wealth, health, and relationships from a security standpoint? How would you attach that to health?
To health, for me, it would be around that mental well-being, that everything's secure, that there's no worry about anything, and that you are physically secure as well. So you know that you're safe.
Okay, I like it.
So that's how I would link it to that. So if we kind of think about that, you can do this for any business. So you could take whatever business you've got and you could go, okay, where do I fit into this? Wealth, health, and relationships. And see how that fits in. So if we take that as the example, so that's the first layer that we look at. Then the second layer, and you'd obviously figured this out before. And this is a case between some people who are like, I'd love to start a business. And you've got some people who are already like, I know exactly what kind of business I want. So, a lot of people have already got that first bit. Like, I know I want to be a lock and security company. That's what I want to do. So you're already ahead of the game in that way. So then we go down to the second layer. And so that's when you get, for instance, okay, I want to do locks and security. Okay, second layer. Third layer. This is where it gets really interesting. And that is about getting really specific on who. Who specifically are you aiming to help within that market? Because within the larger market, there are smaller markets. And it's the smaller markets, the smaller pockets of people that is actually where you want to start, those kind of early adopter people who you can really help and really tailor that around. If I use the example, a different example here, which will be really, really easy for everyone else to understand. So if we start with the same process, wealth, health, and relationships. Okay, I'm going to go into health and I'm going to do weight loss. Okay, so weight loss is the second layer. Third layer, well, weight loss for who? Because weight loss within health is great, like rather versus being like a health coach. I want to be a weight loss coach. Fine, but to whom? Because there's so many different niches within that weight loss niche. So let's get really, really super sort of micro niche about it. And let's use my dad as an example. So he has a heart problem and he's diabetic. And so for him, being a weight loss coach to him is going to be very specific and very niche, because you couldn't apply the same techniques to, say, a mum who's trying to lose their baby weight. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get really specific around that. So until you've got that piece about the niche, until you've really worked it down to specifically who you're helping, and you really do have to really kind of nitty gritty it right down that first of all, you can then think about expanding once you've made kind of like put your flag in the ground. Mm-hmm. But at the point of really starting to dominate, you really want to dominate that small market. So go on. I can see you jumping in.
Why are people afraid to get so niche?
Because they feel like they're cutting it out.
Yeah, because the typical mentality is like, we handle all of these things. So why do I have to limit myself down to this niche?
Absolutely. So yeah, people get worried they're going to cut people out. But the reason you limit yourself to that niche is so that your messaging can be so super clear to digging into their own personal fears. Like a mom losing baby weight is going to have very different fears and wants to someone who has a heart condition or is diabetic. One is concerned about their actual life, about surviving, about making sure they're healthy enough to see their grandkids and so on and so forth. And the other wants to look sexy, wants to drop the weight, and is more ambitious in terms of having that. I always describe it of like, are you an ice cream business or are you an A&E business? So are you selling an ice cream, something that people really, really want, and it's like dangling the golden carrot, and that's amazing? Because you could argue, well, all businesses solve problems. Well, an ice cream van doesn't necessarily solve a problem as such, but it really does, because people want it. People want to be on the beach and they want to have that ice cream to really fill that picture and have the flavors and all the other stuff that they want to have. Whereas, say, an A&E style business, it's easier to pin down a problem. So you've got two different styles of messaging right there that you need to figure out in order to know which way to go. All businesses have to solve a problem or have to have a transformation at the end of it, but we want to know what pedal are you pushing harder on.
We understand the frustrations HOA board members and property managers face when deciding the best solution for their HOA and pool security. Should we use a keypad, hand out keys, or install a key card system? Do we even need cameras? These are some of the questions that are difficult to navigate, and we're here to help. At Loc-Doc Security, we've spent over 20 years working with homeowners associations and property managers to find a system that best fits the pool and HOA needs. Camera systems for the front gate or front entrance, key card systems for the pool gates, or simply updating the gate so that it meets safety and code compliance. We like to take the guesswork out of the process to answer any questions and help find the right solution. Our mission is to help you protect your people and your property, and that includes pools. Contact our team today to schedule your free consultation for your community. So, okay. we've had the similar conversations to this before about kind of finding your target customer, kind of that ideal customer, all those types of things. I've never heard it really described in the way that you're approaching it and really understanding the impact of the niche because of the fact that you're really hardcore focusing on that individual as a whole. And now I'm starting to kind of see that correlation back to the Evertrek with the because it's so specific and you can go so involved in that one particular topic instead of just lightly instead of just lightly glazing over it, saying, yeah, we can book you this type of adventure, but you got to figure out a lot of it on your own. No, we are hardcore we know every aspect about this particular offering. And so if you take it into the lock and security side, and this is where I'm just trying to unpack, because you used weight loss as an example. Sorry,
I did take away your example. I do apologize.
No, they to me they all correlate because it's very true. Like if I'm getting in my 40s and I want to change my just overall health is so different than, and I've got different drivers, I've got different motivators than somebody in their 20s that's trying to get fit, or somebody in their 60s that is recovering from a heart attack or something like that, right? There's totally different drivers there. And so it really opens up my eyes to go back and say, okay, well, how can we really get full in depth? So lock and security is even such a really broad category, but when you start to dig into the type of customers that you service, they all have different uses of that security. Mm-hmm. So how can we be so knowledgeable, such an expert at that, how security connects with this type of customer, that it's almost just ingrained together, and it's really hard to separate those things apart.
100%. People want, with the ability of the internet now, where you can just access an expert, the whole kind of like masters of all things don't really work anymore, because it's like, why would I go to you when there's someone over here that fits me like a glove? Mm-hmm. That's how people want to feel these days. They're like, okay, I'm coming to you because you served people like me before, and I know that you know what you're talking about, versus someone else who is like, we could do that. Let me go back and check it out and make sure that we can pull something together. It's like, well, I'm really not feeling the trust here. Like, you either can help me or you can't. So when you're able to sort of have that straight out the gate, you're able to build that trust with people to know, you're like, I'm not going to go anywhere else because you really do know what you're talking about here. And so, when you can get that nitty gritty about it, it massively helps you. So it's really funny. You were talking about like, an adventure company that does all sorts of different things. When we started out, Andy was so desperate. This is my husband here, I'm just dobbing him in, was so desperate. He's this guy said he's into golf earlier. He's into golf. He's into rugby. He likes the football. Like, there's probably not a sport on this planet apart from curling that he's not into. But he's very much like that with hobbies. He loves sea fishing. He likes kayaking. He likes surfing. And so when we started out, he was like, I love all of these things. I'd love to do all of these things. And it took a real emotional break of, okay, cool. That's stuff that you would like to sell. Mm-hmm. How is this going to be successful for business? And I think a lot of people really struggle with that. He made the leap, but a lot of people really struggle to make that emotional separation between what they'd love to do versus what's best for business, and versus what's best for the customer that you want to serve. And the best thing you can do is to niche and find that perfect customer, because they will feel and get a better transformation when you actually make that call to go, okay, I'm going to really niche it down. When we first started Evertrek, we actually only did Everest Base Camp. That's literally all we started with. And so all our content was really nitty gritty. Like, how much tips do I need to bring with me on the track? What kind of walking boots for that specific one? What kind of TOG sleeping bag do I need? So it gets really small and really ingrained. And by having that really small ingrained content, it builds that positioning and it builds that credibility that you really do know what you're talking about, and they're not going to go to a different company.
So you've explained that very well. My question, I guess, going back to, because just getting into the mind of a business owner of Okay, yes, but I also have a service that applies to a lot of different people. So if I get niche and I've got that fear that I'm cutting people off, really the fear is there's a lot of potential revenue that is sitting over there. There's a lot of potential dollars that are sitting over there. That what if somebody that is outside of that niche walks up and says, I want to hand you money to provide this service, and we've gotten so niche that we just say, that's not what we do. Like that, how do we talk people off of that ledge?
Well, it was a really funny question because I get asked this a lot. And for me, it's a bit like, there's two things here. Have you created an invisible barrier for yourself? If someone came to me, I don't know, and I'm like, I don't know, I make pretty good, really healthy smoothies, right? It's not what I do on a day-to-day. But if someone wanted to hand me a wad of cash and said, I'm willing to pay to show me how to make the smoothie, I'm going to be honest with them about how good I am at it. And I'm just going to show you what I do. It's not a service I provide, but I'm totally happy to do that for you. Or whatever that is. Or if you know that your business is actually set up for that, but it's not something you actively promote, you don't have to say no to them. Like, you can do it if you want to do it. But the second part of that is, have you designed your whole the whole system of your business around this one particular ideal client? The question I would ask, so using the example I was talking about, Evertrack, we just started out doing Everest Base Camp. We now have a myriad of different locations that we work from. We have expanded that niche ever so slightly, still remaining niche, because if I'd have said we're the number one high altitude trekking company in the UK, that still feels really niche, but it wasn't as niche as it used to be. So you've still got to keep the feeling of being an expert, but there's absolutely no reason why you can't start to open it up. But your marketing has to start somewhere. It has to have a starting point in order to dominate that part of the market. Then you can think about, okay, I just had a really good example of this, and I'm just trying to remember the particular client that we did this for. It wasn't. It was my friend the other day. He was talking through a business idea with me. So she was talking about wanting to be a celebrant, and she wanted to talk about being a celebrant from the point of view, like she wanted to call it like happy memories or something along those lines, because she wants to bring really great memories to people. And that's lovely. But she's like, do you know what? I'm going to do weddings and I'm going to do funerals. And she was like, because I figure that actually the weddings and the funerals are kind of achieving the same kind of thing. Like they, the people who want to buy from me, who want me to be their celebrant, it's because they don't want it to be like, really formal and really sad, or on the wedding side, still really formal and very dull. They want something that celebrates people's lives and brings those happy memories, either dependent on which way. And I was like, cool, I can understand why you'd want to do that. And there's no reason why you can't do that. But your marketing and your wording is going to have to be very different when you're trying to talk to these two groups of people. So for instance, when you think about like a website, and it all depends on how you're grabbing people's attention, because you've got disruptive marketing, and then you've got searched for SEO style marketing. So let's say that she's an SEO style marketing, because being disruptive, I guess you could do it in that arena, but it makes sense to start with the SEO stuff, unless you're just going to like rock up in front of somebody and be like, hey, I can do this. So if we look at search terms, when we look at her website, the homepage, the first thing that needs to say is, okay, what do you want? A funeral or a wedding? It immediately separates it out. So then you start going down the rabbit hole of different messaging, so that you're not trying to kind of create wording and messaging that covers both of those things. Because how confusing would that be? Like, I can do, it's going to be a great wedding, it's going to be a knees up, and we're also going to have yes, we're going to have a knees up at your funeral, but also we need to be more caring about it. So the wording needs to be very different. So this is a really great example of how you can serve different areas of the market, but you have to be careful how you start marketing it and how you separate out the messaging. And it's not the same advice for every single business. That works for that business, but it might not work for another. So it's like you have to look at it in its entirety and follow the breadcrumbs to actually, is this going to make sense to my market, or is it going to clash?
So if I'm hearing you say this correctly, and I have no idea what knees up means, so I'll get that definition.
A shindig, a shenanigan, dancing.
We use the word shindig over here. That's funny. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is you can offer one service to multiple different customer types, but understanding that from the start. So lock and security, we offer that to these different types of people, but we've all of a sudden started to separate all of our messaging down to those different types of.
Exactly.
Okay. Same thing with the wedding and the funeral.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know, like if you've got like home security versus office security, you're going to have two big parts. And I'm just using the website as an example here. This could be any kind of marketing. You can then separate, okay, how is that going to look? I'm going to have a button that says, okay, if you own a home and you want that to be more secure, you're going to click here. You want to own an office, you need this to be more secure, you're going to click here. And then suddenly you've got two very different things, because you've also got people who are going to spend different amounts of money as well. It's not just the drivers, which is so important, but it's like like I said about earlier, about the health, the weight loss stuff. Someone who is verging on death is going to pay more to lose weight than someone who just wants to lose a few pounds and look good. It's just the way it is. Like, it's not discrimination. It's just, what people are willing to put money on.
Can you copy this key? That's a question we get asked about 3,422 times a year. And how can you actually be sure that the person who asked that question is supposed to get a copy of that key? Well, we think you should always know who can copy your keys to your business and your home, because it could be your neighbor, an old employee, a contractor, or even worse, your mother-in-law. At Loc-Doc Security, we believe in protected key systems, so you always know who has a copy of your key. To find out more, visit locdoc.net or stop by our Charlotte location. Loc-Doc Security, helping you protect your people and your property.
So diving down into this, or I guess trying to wrap it up into a little bit of a package. If I'm currently running a business and I feel like I'm all things to everybody, I'm offering all of my services to everybody. It's just a grab. Whoever comes up and who has money, we're going to figure out a way to service them. Now I've got to sit back, step one, and start to think through who exactly are these categories that I'm serving: wealth, health, or relationships, and then who am I aiming to help? So of those people, who are the folks that I'm focusing on? Am I focusing on property managers? Am I focusing on homeowners? Am I focusing on developers? Whatever, kind of understanding where I'm pointing my focus, and then after that, now I can start to understand what are the drivers for those individual people, and what are the problems that they're typically running into that my services can help solve.
Absolutely. Ding, ding. Absolutely. And so then you can start thinking, okay, so where does my marketing need to be? So say I'm like targeting homeowners. Let's bring that whole Facebook ads thing back into it. Okay. If I'm setting up a Facebook ad, I'm going to start targeting homeowners with this specific messaging. And this is going to go on here. And I'm going to pull these people through this funnel. And these people are going to come through this funnel. But it has to make sense. It can't be like, I'm a business coach and I also, I don't know, like, I make really nice green smoothies. Like if I was a health coach and I make really nice green smoothies, it makes complete sense. If I'm a business coach and I make really nice green smoothies, that's a different business, totally different business. And it doesn't mean you can't have different businesses, but a lot of people try and focus on everything all at once. And it's like, you can't do that. You have to focus energy at different areas at different times. It's just not possible.
What is your recipe for a green smoothie?
My recipe for a green smoothie is going to sound gross, but it really wakes you up. Okay. Half a lemon, stick of celery, quarter of an apple, a handful of spinach. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, and a quarter of cucumber. But the whole lot goes in. So the lemon, the bit that really brings it to life is the lemon skin.
What's the base?
That isn't. It's a whole gloopy green smoothie, which sets you up for the day.
You put water in it to give it some.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. There's a bit of water in there. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Good tip. I knew there was something missing.
You just described a salad. I mean, it's
pretty much it. It's pretty much it.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much for all of this information. I'm trying to be mindful of kind of the conversation because I feel like we could probably keep going for another hour and a half, but I also don't want to, I want to make sure that the base of this conversation is really valid for our audience. I think if you were to look back at your business, what I'm looking at right now, what I'm listening to right now is if I were to look back at my business currently and say, okay, how can we start to define these niche offerings very segmented, because I feel like in a lot of ways we're just way too broad, right? And so how can I start to think that way? How can we start to operate that way? How do we maybe in our organization start to craft out and say, okay, these people are focused on this type of customer. These people are focused on this type of customer, and just get really, really heavily involved in that so that we can almost create and maybe that's a question for you. Could you create sub niches inside of your organization to offer that? Or is it best to just be that way across the overall organization?
No, I think you're right. I think you can create some niches, but again, it has to make sense. Like I said, if you're a health coach selling the green smoothies, it makes sense. Yeah. If you're a security company and you start running kids' parties with blow ups or whatever, it doesn't make sense. But you can absolutely have sub niches. But I would always start with one and master it first, because once you've got that mastery of it, you really get to know. And this is where the magic happens. This is where the USP comes in, because we haven't even touched on that. Because once you really get into, okay, who is it I'm specifically serving? And we knew, for instance, for Evertrek, we were serving people who love to go on walks. They love to go on hikes. They love to do these things. But do you know what's really scary is doing that in another country. And they have 1,000,001 questions about it. Who we're not serving. We're not serving people who want to go on a holiday. You're in a third world country with windows missing from accommodation. It's not going to be like a run in the park. It's going to have to be, it's going to be a bumpy ride. So we're not selling holidays. We're also not serving people who love to kind of package up. People, for instance, who call in and go, okay, well, can I just minus those days hotels from there? And can I just change that? And I don't want to be there. And do you know what? I'm just going to sort out the middle accommodation, and I'm going to get my own guide for the first 2 days. Can you just serve the 3? No. We don't serve you guys. If you want to put that together yourself and go and go direct to different suppliers and work that all out, you go for it. We are for people who want to join a group of people who enjoy trekking and hiking, who want an incredible challenge, but they want to do it with other people, but they need a little bit of support to be able to get there and know that they're actually going to complete it, because there's so many people that want to go, but are so scared they're just going to back out of it. Going to get to the last day and be like, no, I'm not doing it. Who make sure that they get there without pushing them, but giving them all the support they need. We're very specific about who. When we figured that out, we realized, okay, so what's going to be most beneficial for them? And that's when we created our Evertrek support system. So when I talked about creating concrete USPs, this is about productizing it. It started out actually as a personalized trip planner, an actual planner that they'd get given in the post, have their name on it. And it was really lovely. And it was weird because we were like, why is no one else doing this? Why has no one else done a trip planner? This is insane. It's such a simple idea. And they use this like a Bible. They love it. They share it on social media because it's got their name on it, and they get it out and they plan. They've got their equipment lists, their tick lists, what they need to remember to bring, everything they could possibly want, then spaces to document their journey and so on and so forth. That's how it began. Now we have 7 pillars worth of Evertrek support system, which include the Facebook group for support. We have a knowledge center with all of the kinds of content that we were talking about. We have a podcast. We have a Tuesday tune-in, which is literally just happened over on the Facebook page, where they can come in and ask Q&As and things like that. We've got adventure experts that can take your call. So we've got this whole myriad of thing that we've packaged up as this Evertrek support system, which no one else has. No one else is doing. Still, no one has a planner that I'm aware of. I'm like, why has no one cottoned onto this and jumped on the bandwagon? But hey ho, it is what it is. Oh yeah, we've got an app as well. So we're always ahead of the curve, but it's all based around this USP of what is no one else providing, and that is the pre-support before they go. And so this is where you can start thinking about it for other companies. So I helped a mortgage advisor who, again, there's 1,000,001 mortgage advisors and brokers out there. Apple for Apple. How do you differentiate yourself? She provides a service where not only does she get you the best mortgage, but she also chases the solicitors or the lawyers over your way. She chases the estate agents. She has this trusted chasing and liaison service. So you don't have to do any chasing whatsoever, which means that you both get the mortgage and a stress-free house at the same time. Suddenly she becomes a pair in amongst everyone else. So but it's about looking, she serves specifically self-employed people. So she knew that they were busy. She knew that they didn't have time to do all this chasing on their own. Mm-hmm. She knew that it was going to be impossible for them to try and get a mortgage because they're going to have to show their tax forms and all these things and get a specific mortgage. So she knew their drivers. She knew what their specific problem was, mm-hmm. and then created a USP around it. Yep. And so that's what you can do when you get that niche and you start creating that messaging that's really, really on point. You can start to go, okay, what's missing from this person's life that I can help with? And that's where you can really drive your business forward.
I like that statement. What's missing from this person's life that I can help with? Because that's ultimately, I think any business is doing something along that line. And whatever service that you're providing, whatever product that you're making is ultimately adding to that. What is missing from that ideal customer's life that I can help bring value to? And I think that probably goes back to the question that I was asking earlier about how do you kind of talk people off that ledge of walking away from certain types of customers or saying these are the types of customers that we offer. It's understanding that this is truly what we offer. This is where we're best positioned, and this is the most people that we can help are the people that we're adding this to their life. If they already have it or they already have parts of it, they don't need us. Then we can also be comfortable in our own skin to know that this is where we're best suited. This is where we're best positioned, and how we can best add to people's lives. Yeah,
100%, absolutely.
Well, I'm ridiculously chuffed that we had this conversation today. Now, if someone wants to get in touch with you for your business coaching or to help with really working through any of these types of conversations, or if they want to go on a high altitude adventure, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay, well, we'll get the Evertrek out of the way first. Literally just Google evertrek.co.uk and that will pop up and that will give you all the information you need to get involved in treks and things like that. If you want to speak to me about how you can create your own USP, how you can create your own messaging and get super niche and take that forward into your marketing strategies, then the best way is to Google my website, which is marketleaderleague.com. Marketleaderleague.com. And then I also have my podcast, if you're looking for more kind of juice on this topic, which is called the Expert Unrivalled podcast.
All right. Proper Posh, thank you very much for all of your information today. This has really been a blast. I've enjoyed the conversation immensely. Hey, Jen, thank you for the conversation. Such a blast. Make sure you check out her website. More information there, and she's got a free PDF that you can download with tons of information that'll get you on the right track. Not the right trek, but the right track. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't already, subscribe, and we'll see you next time right here on the Coffee Break Podcast.